And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a game called Mental Blocks from Pandasaurus Games. There's really no game like Mental Blocks. It is a cooperative game with a possibility of you can add a traitor in if you want to, in which players are trying to do a puzzle together, put together a puzzle of blocks without knowing all the information. I guess maybe there's some games like this, but not really. This is a real-time game in which players are all communicating in weird ways, or not weird ways. It's just, it's so hard to explain. The best way is to just watch. So the goal of the game is to solve a puzzle. There's a whole box here full of puzzles, and there's two sides to every card. So I'm going to be showing you the very first puzzles, whatever. Just take it out of your memory if you don't want to know any spoilers. But there's a family puzzle, which is easier, and then there's a more difficult puzzle. And there's a whole set of cards that comes with each. So for example, this is family puzzle 1. And this is the more advanced puzzle number 1. So you're going to take these cards and you're going to take all the ones with check marks on them because they're used in every game. The other ones with the circles on them are optional, and you'll shuffle those and add more of those for the game if you have more than 4 players in a game. There's one card that actually has the solution on it. This is what you're trying to build. It's showing you from 2 different directions. This one you'll set aside. Now the way you do this is, if I'm doing the family puzzle, I just do the other side. We shuffle the other side, we look at the other side and how they work, and they're the same thing on both sides. All the cards are placed into sleeves here, and then they'll be dealt out to the different players. If you're playing with fewer than 8 players, you'll flip one of the optional cards face up. Now, when you have a card, if it shows colors, this means that from one of the 4 directions, this is what you see. So there'll be a few of these in 4 of these in the game. So from all 4 directions, this is what you see on the thing. This here shows you how it's shaped from one of the different perspectives. Players are then working together, putting these down, remembering that triangles will look like a square from one direction and a triangle from another, but squares from most of the different directions. And you're working together to cooperatively build this. Obviously, you can see here that the shape matches. And if I have these, well, this doesn't work from this direction, but hey, this here, if I look straight on, is what it would look like. While someone else, if it's over here, that person will see this one here. So everyone's trying to work together. This is the most basic of levels that you can play. The easiest thing, and everyone's working together. You have a time limit, you just run a timer, and you're trying to do this as quickly as you can before time runs out. And once you think you've all done it, once everyone agrees, you'll look at the solution card and see if you've got it correct. Now there are ways to make it more difficult. Obviously the puzzles will get more difficult and there's more blocks, but you can also play a level where everyone gets a restriction. Everyone gets one of these dealt to them privately, and you can't tell people what it is, but hey, you can only directly touch yellow blocks. You can only directly touch blues or triangles. You may not talk, but you may touch all the blocks. So that's going to throw things off. You think that's not enough? Then you can put a minor glitch and deal one of these in the middle of the table. And everyone has to do it. So yellow and black are swapped. You may not directly touch the block you wish to move. You must still follow all restriction cards. So it's kind of you have to deal with those. Or you can jump to the major glitches here. Players cannot move around a table and must play from their current location. You may not move blocks unless your perspective card is face down on the table. And then you can play with the traitor variant. When you play with the traitor variant, one person has a solution. If you get this, you're the traitor. You know what it's supposed to be, so your goal is to not be super helpful, to make it so that when it's done, you reveal it and say, I'm the traitor, I win. However, if people can figure out who the traitor is, then too bad, the traitor loses. So those are the different variants. There are all sorts of ways to mix those together, and that's how you play. The blocks themselves are big, foamy blocks, and they're pretty sturdy. You twist them, those work well. The cards are all in here. You got to be, they're nice and neat, and they're going to stay nice and neat because, as you take them out and put them back in, they're going to stay in these card sleeves. Yay for card sleeves. The restrictions and major glitches. I almost wish these were in card sleeves because they're going to get passed around a lot. You're going to use them in a lot of games, especially the restrictions that everybody has. The rule book itself, so this is kind of a tough game to teach, but it does a pretty good way. It has a nice quick start guide on the back, has a quick play inside, and then clearly tells you how to play. I thought this was a really well done rule book, and everything fits nicely inside the box. So Mental Blocks has a few problems. We'll start with those. I like the game, but let me talk about the few problems. The biggest problem for me is I just don't think the trader thing works very well. It's just too hard to be the trader. You have to really work at being secret and hidden, and no one can figure out that you're messing things up and mess things up. And I think it's just, if players communicate really well, the only way that a trader can really stay hidden very well, especially in large groups, it's really hard for the trader. But in large group, the only way I think it can work well is if there's so many restrictions that you just pretend you have a restriction or whatever, and therefore mess everybody up in that regard. However, that being said, I don't care about the trader. You can just drop it. Who cares? The rest of the game is really fun. The other slightly negative thing about the game is that it's just not for everybody. I know all games are not for everybody, but this one is definitely not going to be for a lot of people. This is one where you need a table. You're going to need to move around it, unless you have that one glitch that says you can't. But you're going to all be standing up and moving around and talking and working back and forth. And there's not really any way anyone can be kind of an alpha gamer in this one because you don't know all the information. So you're trying to talk about your information with the restrictions. It's really too easy without the restrictions. But if everyone has a restriction and now I can only touch blue pieces or whatever, so the game is really interesting and it forces players to cooperate in a weird way that I haven't seen before. And I like it. And it scales well too. And I know one complaint that some people might have, I don't have at all, is the number of puzzles in here. I don't remember how many there is. There's quite a few in there. The fact is, they're ranked from 1 star on up, but I showed you guys a puzzle, and I just recorded that puzzle right before this, and I can't remember how the blocks went together. And if I can't remember that very well 5-10 minutes later, then I definitely won't remember them months apart. So the replayability in here is pretty much infinite. Unless someone can memorize every single solution, I just don't see that happening. And so even though there's a ton of different ones in here, you say, oh, I played through all of them, you could go back and play them again and you probably wouldn't remember. Because you don't know which, and if you did remember, then just don't tell anyone what puzzle you're doing. And then you have to sit there and go, okay, you're looking at it from this way and this way. So I think that's cool. There's a lot of stuff in here. This is a box that's really full. You have to actually, when I put these blocks back in here, you got to stack them in nice and neat for them to fit inside. That's good. You're getting your money's worth with this game. This is what I call a convention game. I talk about games that are good to play at conventions or at the game meetup where you have 7-8 people around and you want to play this thing. This is 2 to 9 players. And you give a bunch of people around a table, and it's not like a loud, raucous game. It can be loud as people talk back and forth, but you're all sitting there thinking hard at the same time, and you have some information that other people don't have, so they're going to need to talk to you, and it's also a good icebreaker. So Mental Blocks, it has this weird vibe that other games don't, and that's great. I'm always looking for innovation, looking for new things. Like I said, not convinced the trader works really well in it, although if you might differ, and then again, it's there, but it's easily takeable out, and I like the scalability of how difficult it is, because you add in a major glitch and give everyone these restrictions, it's hard, and I like that. So much replayability, a neat game, Mental Blocks. Dice Tower Judgment, approved!
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando, in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.